So let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Joey, and I've been in the industry for roughly about 14 and a half years now. I'm not going to bore you with any type of decks today. We're going to show you exactly how to create a report from beginning to end, along with how to activate and set up your settings and so forth. What I mainly want to do is provide you an overview, give you a snapshot of some of the areas that we're going to cover, so that when we get in there, it's a little bit fresh, and you'll understand the basic steps once we go through it together. So you can also, if you already have your username and password, one of the things that you can do is you can follow along with me. If you have dual monitors, you can create a report on one side of the screen while you're seeing the actual steps being, or the details or the numbers being plugged into the system. At this point, after the call, what you can do is you can email our support team and send a simple email like this along with the link that you've now created during this session, and then what will take place is our support team will respond with an email giving you an idea of course, you've done a great job, what certain things you can look out for, maybe certain things we can adjust to help the presentation become more effective. So there's a lot of ways that we can definitely assist you along with. If there's a specific question you have or you wanted to learn more about creating that specific type of report, they can also email you the training video for it, and you can also view it in your own time as well. So this is an opportunity for you to really follow along, to get engaged. So as long as you have more than one monitor, you should be good to go. Okay, so just wanted to throw that out there. You can email support@mortgagecoach.com. That's exactly where you would send the email. And again, it just helps you, and it'll keep your memory fresh after you've gotten off the call. We also strongly recommend that you get into the system and attempt to create a report at that point. Okay, the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you log into the website, okay, and that is edge.mortgagecoach.com. You're also going to want to make sure that you bookmark this section, because it'll make it easier for you to access the link and log into the system at any point in time. Okay, so the way you bookmark it is there should be a star located at the top right-hand side of the screen, and then at this point, once you select it, depending on whether or not you have a Mac or a PC, will determine how you would create that benchmark. But then you want to store it so that it stores in your favorites, and then you can access it at any time. So as you know, that when we log in, the initial way to log in your email and then your password. This is going to be provided by your admin, or if this is your first time attending and you're an individual user, then again you would have received this with your welcome email the moment that you signed up for a mortgage coach. So once you log in, it's going to take us to a main section, and from there it's going to break down as what you see at the very top. You'll see new client, new partner, settings, and help. These are options that you're going to be using throughout anytime you're using the system. What we're going to do is break down each one of these sections to give you a better idea of what it looks like and how they relate. One of the things that you're going to notice, and which is a powerful way, is what's called report tracking. When we get in there, you'll see, again, this is the exact same layout. I'll walk through those options, but the report tracking is very powerful, because anytime you send out a report, whether that's specifically to a client, whether that's specifically, maybe that's a marketing report you're sending out, you name it, you'll see a couple of the options there to the left: Jennifer Berner, annual mortgage review, government loans, and so forth. And you'll see how many times the actual report's reviewed, the number of times, and the type of report that was sent out. And you can also track exactly how long it's been sent out and how many times it's been received, or how many times it's been activated. So this becomes powerful when you're working with specific clients. Maybe they've been difficult, they travel a lot. This will allow you to track your presentations and your reports at any time. So when we initially get in here, the first option you would start off with to create a purchase, or refinance, or marketing would be by new client, which will be located at the top there. And it'll store the most recent clients that you've created a report for there to the top left. So from there, again, you would create the report, and they'll be stored there. I would say the last 20 reports that you created will be located there in the recent client section. The new partners, that tab allows you to create open house presentations, and they'll be stored just like the recent clients there on the bottom left-hand side. You'll also be able to store I would say the past, again, most recent 20 files or partner presentations you've put together. So you have that as an option as well. Those two areas is what the difference is there. And then from there, you'll also be able to activate any of your clients at any point in time. If let's assume it's been a couple of months now and you need to contact that client back or recreate the report, whatever may be the case, you can always select the View All option, and this will store all of your contacts, meaning all of the reports that you've put together. So when you enter in the client's first and last name, you can select Search. It'll go ahead and pull up that presentation of the client that you originally created a report for. From there, if you do not want to just pull up a client's first and last name, you can always select the search field, and it'll pull up the entire client field or client database that you've created reports for. Now keep in mind, this is not a CRM, so you cannot download these contacts and then send out mass emails. It's not how it would work, but you have the opportunity to add and copy reports at any point in time to do that. In the settings section, it's going to be where you're going to be storing your contact information. It's very important because this is what will appear at the top right-hand side of the report. So you want to make sure that this information is accurate, along with the address, your MLS number, and your contact phone number and so forth. At the top right-hand side of the report, this is what's branding you. This is also one of the best ways to maximize your exposure, so you're going to want to make sure that that information, again, is accurate when you enter it into the field or when you enter in the data. The next following tabs, so when we get in there, you'll notice the images, product templates, and the feed templates option. Now, if you are an individual user, you will have to go in there, create your own products, your own feed templates. But the moment you do that and you create it once, you no longer have to remimic or recreate those options again. If you're under an enterprise umbrella, meaning that could be that the organization has already plugged in those feed templates for you, so it should make it easier for you to access at that point. Okay, so when we get in there, we'll walk through that as well. The help option next to that, this is going to be your best friend. Anytime you need assistance or you have questions, maybe you're stuck, you're not sure how to create exactly the report on a purchase, or you got stuck in creating an FHA product, here in this help section, you can tap into any video resource that you need. You notice the middle section also provides you in the blue there with sales training scripts that you can access at any time, along with the most common asked questions featured in the red. Now these are important because you'll notice in the red section, those are the basic standard videos that you would use normally, how to create a purchase, creating edge videos, templates, open house presentations, and how to read the report and so forth. So you'll have access to that. Also the knowledge base field, which is located right below, you can type in any subject and it'll pull up whether that's mortgage insurance, lender paid MI, you name it. You can plug in the subject there and it'll pull up the training video for us at that point. So you want to make sure that you access that and use it to your advantage. The other thing is, I'm going to just ask like a quick question just to see if we have been paying attention and so forth, just to give it kind of a refresh your memory. And as we were in there and showing you just the basics, is which option do you use to create a purchase? So which one of these options there that you see to the left that you feel you would use to create a new purchase option? I know we've touched base on that, and I'm not going to make this too drawn out, but if you had in mind and you were thinking about new client, then that's exactly what it was. And again, new client will allow you to create a purchase report, remember a refinance, or any marketing report as well. So I'm going to throw out something else here. How do you update your contact information? So again, this would be contact information that your borrowers will see anytime you send out the report. Okay, so these are the options here, and as we walk through it, just to give you a refresher, if you did not select this as an option, then again, we need to make sure that when we get in there, we'll refresh it for you and show you the options there. Okay, so again, that's the settings. That's where you're going to set up and create your contact information moving forward. So when we get in here, we're going to select new client. And once it does that, the first step that it'll take us to is this client section that you see here. You would enter in your client's first and last name. And you'll notice at the bottom left, from client through affordability, those are probing question steps that you have already captured into your LOS. So you're not going to have to enter in a lot of that data. A lot of the fields, once we get in here, you notice we're going to bypass and get straight to the meat and potatoes, which is what you see there as the product section. Now the product section is where the templates that you have created, where you can access them, pull them in. Again, it'll save you some time, and you can create up to 4 different scenarios side by side to each other. So that's really where you're going to spend the majority of your time if you don't have any product templates or feed templates set up. The next option there is the analysis option. Now the analysis is where you can make customized changes, adjustments, and what you'll notice in a moment here. And you can tweak out anything you need to really show what the borrower wants to see. So if they have a specific time frame, they're looking to pay off a mortgage and so forth, you can make custom adjustments just like you would on your HP calculator to make that those changes. The last option, the presentation, that's where we would end. That's where the magic happens. You send out the email link to your borrowers, you create your video, and you can also use a feature called Edge Live that allows you to interact with your clients. If for some reason you need to have that conversation over the phone, the presentation can be up in front of them and they'll be able to see any numbers or any changes that you make on the presentations. They'll be able to see that live. So we'll demonstrate that a little bit here. The product section, again, that's where we're going to spend the majority of our time. The first thing you want to do is make sure that we change the product name, and this can be anything you need it to be. Now remember, this is what will appear on the report, which is what your borrowers or your clients would see. So you want to also abbreviate it because it is a 12-character field. Now from there, as long as we have the product templates created, okay, this is where you would access that drop-down, and this is what your system would look like. If you have more than one product, it'll continue down the line there. It's limitless. You can add as many different products as you'd like. The concept, again, is to make sure that it makes it easier for you to create a report in roughly 5 minutes or less. The red there that you see that's circled, the purpose of the template is to fill in that data. That is the product that the client is going to see, or the product the borrower qualifies for. So again, you want to make sure that when you create the product templates, it is accurate, and then you can update the field and make adjustments if need be. Now the moment that we advance, keep this in mind, there's 3 different steps in creating a product. So the first step was adding the product template, and again, if you created the product template and you added fees to that, then it'll also incorporate the fees based on how they were labeled in that specific template. You can also select the closing cost details option that you see at the top there, and what will take place is it'll reroute you and send you to this location here. Now this is where we would have already created our fee template, so that it makes it easier for us to access, which would be located at the top right, and then at that point you can locate those fee templates that you were looking for, or that you've created, or that applies for this specific borrower. From there, what you would do is you would select Apply to Loan, and that will fill in the numbers just like you've seen in the back end. It'll gray out those fields for you so that you can access them at that point in time. Okay. You can also add custom fees as well, so when we get in there, I'll show you and demonstrate what that looks like as well. Now this is the last step in creating a product. This is where you can add the hazard insurance, property tax, mortgage insurance, and also hazard and state tax reserves, and also if you're collecting 12 months premium on a purchase there. So everything's been designed in Edge to really make it very, very user-friendly, to make it easier for you to create the presentation. And this is exactly what it would cover in this 3rd step. So after we've created this 3rd step, you can now add another product by selecting Add Another Product at the very bottom there, and now you can start creating the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th from there. So the other thing is you can add factors. The purpose for these is so that it'll calculate based on the loan amount, and it'll calculate the dollar figures right there to the left of it, so you no longer have to enter in that data either. So when we get in there, I'll show you exactly what that looks like and demonstrate from there. So again, once you've completed everything, we're going to create our secondary product. You would select Add Another Product. There are shortcuts that I'll show you when we get in there. You can copy the data over so that it saves you time from having to re-enter in the data for each and every single product. Okay. So from there, as we mentioned, from products, it will take us to our analysis section. Now, don't let this overwhelm you when you get in there. There's a lot of changes and adjustments you can make here. But to keep it simple, one of the things that you really want to point your attention to is to the bottom right there, and identify which one of those options you really want to present to your borrower. The standard default that you would normally see would be total interest and MI paid, but you have the opportunity to demonstrate to a borrower total net worth and total principal paid if that was the case. The time that you would use total principal paid, generally when it's a rent versus own presentation, to show a borrower what the benefits are in home ownership versus renting. Total net worth would apply when you work with the reinvestment matrix that it's right above there, that allows you to enter in and show clients any principal reduction payments, any savings or investments that they may currently have in place. Okay. Now from there, again, as if you wanted to leave that as is, as total interest and MI paid, you really don't have to make any changes, adjustments. You can select the forward arrow. It would advance you to the next stage, which would be the contact section. But to save us some time, to cut this down here, is the top left-hand side is really where you can make the adjustments. So what you're going to see here is you have the appreciation rate, which you can delete or adjust it based on the county there. You also have the short-term analysis months, which would cover and structure anything on the bottom left-hand side that you see there that covers the orange graphs. Okay, and that's the cost over that time period based on the loan amounts that you, or the loan products that you have in place. The other thing is the long-term analysis will control the bottom right. So if you wanted to change that to 30 years, you can do that. Okay, you can adjust that number or that figure to whatever you need it to be. So from there, again, we would advance, and the last step that we want to take it to would be the presentation. So as we mentioned, it was first client through affordability, then we have the products to enter in. We made slight adjustments in the analysis section, and now we're ready to send out the report. So when we get here, you still have the capability of printing out a report and also saving as a PDF. Now, we do not advise to print it out from here. We advise that you select the preview option, pull up the report, and then at that point make the adjustment or change. Okay. So here I'll show you how to notify me when this report is viewed, why that's important. You will receive email notifications that their borrowers have viewed reports the moment they have closed out of it. So anytime you send out a report, you have the opportunity to be notified by that as well. In order to send out the report, we're going to select this option called Generate Link. This is where, again, the magic happens, and it'll create a link that you currently see here, and this is the link that we would then copy and paste into an email and send it off to our borrowers. We can also text this as well, so if you wanted to send a text message, you can say, hello, Mr. Client, here is the presentation I promised you, and you would type in this exact same link in its entirety, and then you send the text. The client will now be able to open up that link or your realtors for the presentation that you've put together. That could be an open house presentation or rent versus own, again, if it's a purchase. The other thing, and before you want to do this, is to make it more personal, is to be able to add a video to your presentation. If you don't feel comfortable adding a video to your presentation, there is an option where you can add an audio only. The only thing is the video is more effective because it's 4 times more likely to be shared, and about 92% of clients would prefer to see it in video format versus text format. So it also paints a picture, it makes it more personal, and again, it's introducing yourself if that was the case. Now, traditionally, if you don't use Mortgage Coach, originators are still currently using something similar to this. They're still completing an email with the whole entire blog, biography, and then by the time your borrower gets to the middle of it, they may have gotten lost, don't understand the full potential of what you're really trying to show them. So at times what we've done is that with Mortgage Coach, it makes it a lot easier. So versus the presentation or the email on the right, I can also rename the link that I've just created to say something like Dr. Todd and Hang Turner presentation. The moment they access that link, it'll pull up the presentation immediately. The borrower will no longer have to go through this stage where the originator now sends an email with a PDF format, whether that's 1 or 2 or multiple products in place. The borrower is still going to have to download. If they don't have access to a PDF, they have to go through a process, which is still effective. You can see this has gotten through. I've used this in the past. It's still effective. However, you want to make it as easy as possible for your borrowers to access the data they need and provide any updates they need quickly. So with Mortgage Coach, you have the opportunity to do that. Because remember, with the link, the borrower will keep that link, and they can make any adjustments, or you can make any adjustments at any time and allow your borrower to access that same link at any point in time whenever you provide those updates. So the end results would be something like this, where it's the report. You'll notice that, again, it has the 4 different options there located. You're looking at the summary section. This covers the majority of the information where you'll be spending that you see on a cost fee worksheet. Okay, it's going to cover the loan amount, interest rate, term, cash to close, and so forth. And in that more information tab, you'll be able to demonstrate the closing costs, payment breakdown, and so forth. The monthly payment savings, when we get in there, I'll show you exactly how this breaks down, how it ties into the option to the left. Essentially what it's doing is providing numbers, and then we provide the details in graph form so that clients can easily digest the information that you're presenting to them. The bottom left, this is what we saw in the analysis section. So remember, we can make the adjustments. This is where it will calculate that data in the store for us. And same concept with the bottom right-hand side, the interest and MI paid over 15 years. That's exactly what it's going to cover and how it's going to be presented on the presentation. Okay, so that gives you an overview there on what we put it together. And before we do that, I just want to say that every week you have the opportunity to attend weekly coaching calls as well. If you do so, you have Tuesdays. You also have Thursdays, which is a little bit for more advanced individuals who want to learn more about Mortgage Coach, and you're currently attending the beginner session. So on Tuesdays, it's industry experts. I'll show you how you can register for that. The Thursdays, again, the moment that you feel comfortable, you created about 5 reports. I recommend to attend the Thursday sessions. This way, you get to learn and pick up the product or the tool a lot quicker. So now let's get into the tool, and let's get in here. And for those that, again, want to follow along, feel free to do so. I should have given you plenty of opportunity to get into the system there. And if you have any questions throughout the call, please feel free to type them into the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with that. Okay. So for now, again, let's jump into the settings section quickly, just to kind of brief cap. Again, you want to make sure that this data is up to date. You're also going to want to make sure your image and your headshot is saved in a folder where you know you can select from. So if I select the browse option, I can search into, let's assume, my pictures, if that's where I stored that image, and then at that point I would double click and it'll open it up into the section here. Okay. Same concept for the logo. Now if you're working through an enterprise organization that we currently work with or have a contract with, then your logo would automatically be locked in. You will not have to lock this logo in. It should already be set for you. For those that are individuals, then you would have to, again, same concept, just locate the folder where you stored the image, and then at that point it will be pulled in. If you have any issues with the resolution or the size of the image is not coming out clear, in this help section, again, I'll show you how you can send out to our support team, and they can assist you with that option moving forward. Product templates. Again, one of the ways you'll see that here on the left-hand side, these are all the product templates that have been created by myself. The way you would start that is, again, to the far right. You'll see that there's the new button. Now, it'll initially show you here to the right, all these fields are completely blank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to name this today's, let's say it's going to be conventional, 5%. Okay. Now, you'll notice that's the template name. That's what will appear on the present, or that's what the title is going to be when I access it. Does this have an upfront premium? No, it does not. It's not an FHA, it's not a VA, and it's not a USDA, and so forth. Okay, down payment, that's important. Conventional, I'm going to use this 5 because that's the product that we're creating. The interest rate, I'm generally going to leave this blank for the simple reason that rates change on it every day or from time to time. I never want to have to adjust it, but you can also enter in a rate if you'd like and keep it locked in. Term, I'm going to use a 30-year for now, so it's going to be identified as 360. If this was an ARM product, I can also do so as well. This allows you to enter in the details of that ARM, and you no longer have to re-enter them in. You can make the adjustments when you need to. But for now, it's going to be a fixed loan, and I'm going to leave it as is. Let's assume the prepaid interest stays as 15. I can identify that. Interest-only months, that doesn't apply to the specific option. And then now you'll see that it's asking me for APR-related closing costs. Now, I can total the closing costs as a lump sum if I'd like. That's an option. Or, again, you can break them down and adding closing cost details to this specific template. Okay? For now, I'm going to leave the closing cost options out of place. We don't need it as of right now. I'm not going to apply a seller contribution. That's not going to apply to the specific borrower or this specific template. I'm going to go ahead and make the adjustments and use 2 months for reserves, and for taxes, I'm going to throw out there 4. I'm going to collect the 12 months premium there. And so really I'm done with this specific product. Now I can also add 2. So to the right here you'll see that I can add closing costs if I'd like, or monthly costs. So the monthly costs here, I'm going to select it. And remember, we were discussing that the hazard and property tax and mortgage insurance section, we can add factors to that. Well, to the right here, I can select this % option, enter that field in. You'll notice that the dollar amounts are not populated because it's not calculating from the loan amount, because there is no existing loan amount as of right now. So 1 1/4. Whoops. There it is. Now, mortgage insurance, you can continue. Some originators, what they would do is they'll build, for example, a conventional 5% down with 95% down and they'll adjust and plug in the factor that's based off of that. Okay, so you can do that, and again, you can have multiples created specifically up to you. For now, I'm going to leave this blank, and I'm going to select OK. So again, remember, this is today's conventional 5% down. Now, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to add closing costs to that option as well. And at the top right-hand side, I have already created a couple of these fee templates. Now, traditionally, what you would do is you would start off creating the fee templates first. So this way, when you come into this section, you're creating a product template, you can then access that fee template you created. That doesn't make sense. It will when I move forward, advanced mode. So here we go. Conventional, add applies, and I'm going to apply the template from there. Okay. So now I've completed my first product here, and that's how that option is done. So you can add as much information as you'd like. Now that you see how to create that fee template, I'm going to show you the the product template. I'm going to move over to fee template here. Now the fee template that I accessed in this product template section was from this conventional that I had created originally. Okay, so that is why I recommend that if you are in these two options, you do not have any product templates or fee templates in place just yet, that you start off with fee templates. This way, when you get to create the product templates, it'll make a lot more sense. It'll make it a lot easier for you to select this closing cost details and access the template from there. Now, the moment you create your first fee template, you can always save as and continue from there. What I mean by that is this. I'm going to use today's training fees. And I'm going to assume that I have already created this fee template automatically. And again, the way you would create a fee template would be this way. You select New at the very bottom right. Let's say this was, I'm going to name it, let's say, Modern Fees, Training Fees. For today's training. And again, this would be any fee template, you name it. Select OK. You'll see that the top right is completely blank. There's no field whatsoever. So here's the headline of the product fee template you just created. You can select actually add fee. So every time you select this add fee button, you'll see that it provides the description and what the standard default looks like. At that point, you would select the drop down. You can select the alphabet letter of whatever it may be. So if it's underwriting, I would select U. Makes it easier for me to access. If it's appraisal, to select A, and you get the general drift there. So you can continue to go down the list there, and then you would apply the dollar amounts based on what that is. If it's processing, same concept. So as you can see, this may take you some time, but the thing is the moment you spend that 30 minutes, it's going to be the best 30 minutes you spend before you get in here and creating this product. Or any products moving forward, any presentations, I should say. So the moment you've accessed those dollar amounts, let's assume this is $250, and let's say this is the credit report. There it is. Okay, so then you can determine which one's an APR or non-APR related fee. You can simply just deselect it and it'll be as is. So I'm going to leave this here. Whoops, and that's county property. That should be credit. So here we go. So now I've completed this training fees option. I no longer have to save it. It's already stored here to, actually, where are we at here? There it is. So the top left-hand side here, you'll see that training fees, you don't have to save it any time you've created it. So the moment you select New, enter in the headline, and select OK, it'll automatically store it there to the left-hand side. Now, you're going to have to create more than one fee template, obviously. So at this point, what you can do is the easiest way would be to select from that exact same product or fee template you created is select the Save As option. And now you can rename this. Let's just use government fees just for today's training. Okay. Now I'm going to select OK. Now at this point you can see that it's brought over the exact same descriptions as the training fees, but now I can continue to add from there. So see, what I've done is I no longer have to save it, but I can continue to say save as, and then type in another headline and same concept. So it'll just continue to make it a lot easier. So the first time you create the feed template, it's going to take you, it may take you some time, but after you've done that, you're just going to select save as and then make the minor adjustments that you need to. If there is a feed template or a description that you do not see in this drop-down, then you can select this add custom fee option and then enter in what that needs to be. So if it's an upfront fee, for example, or you know, sellers, I don't know, say sellers fee. You can select identify whether that's an APR related closing cost, and then select OK. Then it'll store it for you, and it'll also permanently store it in this drop down here. Okay, so that's how you would create fee templates and product templates from there. Now let's get into the system here, and let's go ahead and start off by creating a new client. So again, you should be following along. We're going to use for today's training, let's go ahead and use anyone from the audience here. And I'm going to throw out one here. Let's use Holly Hayes today. So first and last name is very important. This is what will save and store the presentation. So from here, if you needed to get back out of it, this file will still be placed in the recent client section as we had mentioned earlier. Now remember, from client through affordability, these are basic probing questions that you have already captured into your LOS. You're not going to have to spend too much time here. So from there, I would go ahead and advance. Goals is, what is it? Is this to support my retirement? Is this to pay off my balance, lower interest rate, purchase a new home? Yes, that's exactly what it is. Don't spend too much time here. Get straight direct, select what that option is, move on to the next step. Okay, if it's a refinance, same concept. So again, if you're following along, you should be at this section currently now. We entered in the first and last name, we advanced the goals, and then we checked off the purchase option. So you should now be in this assumption section as well. If you notice, there's 4 different options. The property value, purchase price, that's what's most important. It's identified in red. It will affect the presentation. So you want to make sure that if you have a current appraised value, if it's a refinance, you want to use that. If you have specific comps in the area, this is your opportunity to use that number to be identified. So we're going to go ahead and use this for today's training is $385,000, just about the average. And that's pretty much it. You're going to enter in the numbers, select enter, it'll populate the data for you. You do not have to enter in any commas or decimal points. So now it's going to move us to the affordability section. And as we showed you earlier, you would have noticed that, again, this would have been the last step before we advance into products. So here in affordability, if I hover my mouse over this window, it presents 2 what we call jump windows. I do not have to click on this affordability window. It'll just automatically pull them up. I can move my mouse up side by side if I need to, but to demonstrate where we're currently at is here in this first section. As we advance, it'll send us over to Can Spend. You don't have to enter in these fields. These are optional. Okay, if you want to identify or demonstrate to your borrower tax benefit based on their annual gross income, you can do so. MCC tax credits you can also apply as well. It's there if need be, and also any savings balance that the borrower may have. But you notice we're going to bypass this, and we're also going to bypass this section as well. These are questions I have already captured in my LOS. If you have not, you can also use Edge to capture that data also. But as you can see, we really spent a lot of time, or not a lot of time, for client. We identified goals, the purchase price, and then we bypass these 2 windows to get straight into products. Now, we're going to delete product number 1. Remember, this is a 12-character field, so we're going to abbreviate that just as what you see here. You're going to type in CONV 5%, and then down. That's going to be your headline for today. Now, if you don't have product templates and you decided not to create any at this point or originally, then you can create and save product templates as you go along. So for now, I'm not going to bring in the template that we created originally, but I'm going to show you how that would be accessed. So here, as I access the drop-down, as we showed you, demonstrated earlier in the call, here is today's conventional 5%. Now that's the option that I had created in the settings section. So as you can see, by accessing it, you'll see that you can now access it at any point in time. But for now, if I was creating this from scratch, here's my 5%. I can enter in the dollar amount, or I can use this percent option. Once I click it, it opens up an additional window, and I can then enter in the down payment, select enter, and it'll populate the down payment dollar amount for me. So it does do the heavy lifting calculating for you, so keep that in mind. Today we're going to use an interest rate of 3 3/4, so 3.75, and we're going to type in the term of 360. Okay, so now I'm going to advance and just show you something here. You'll see that this is the closing cost section. Remember we mentioned that there's 3 different steps to creating a product, and when we showed you in the initial deck there is that you can access this closing cost details, and at this point you can select access the top right hand side. And what do you see there? You see the training fees, the template that we created earlier, and also the government fees. It's the exact same thing. So now what I can do is I can select it, and as you can see, it's the exact same template that we originally created in the settings section. Okay, so that's how you can see it could save you a significant amount of time doing that or using that, and then also break down how how the costs are going to be laid out in the closing cost section. Okay, so you have this as an option. You would apply to the one at that point, and then you'll see that it grays out those fields accordingly from there. Now as we advance, and again, you're not going to have fee templates, so just follow along with me for now. This would be the last step where you would enter in the hazard, property tax, the mortgage insurance, the reserves, and so forth, as we had originally created in the settings section. Again, you can enter in these percent options to enter in the factors, but let me show you now how you would create this and why the templates are important if you do not have any stored just yet. So I'm going to delete the products or the fees, go back to the main section, and you can also feel free to go back to this main page. And I'm going to delete this down payment, delete the interest rate, and delete the term. Okay. So again, as we advance and we got to this product section here, remember we entered in the down payment, the interest rate, and so forth, and then we noticed that the fees were not in place. So what the product template does for us is I'm going to select this drop down. I'm going to access today's product template there. I'm going to enter in the interest rate, and as you can see, by using the template, it's already populated the down payment for me. I only had to enter in the 3 3/4 interest rate. As I advance here, you notice that the fees were brought over as well from the product template that we originally created in the settings. Do you recall that? Before this, we had to go into this closing cost details, access the template so that we can apply it at that point. So by using and attaching the fees to the product template, it definitely helps you. So as I advance, you're going to also notice that the monthly hazards or property tax and the reserves that we had again created in the product in the settings section has also been brought over. So as you can see, it saves me a significant amount of time by making sure that these are in place. So from there, I can add an additional product. So I'm going to click add another product, but before I do that, if this was your first time creating this type of product, you can click save as template and then name it what you'd like from there, and then again it'll be stored in that drop down section when we create the product. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. For now, click add another product for me. Now what you see is product number 2. Now product number 2 could be anything you need it to be. If we're comparing a conventional 5 to an FHA, I'm going to type in FHA, delete product number 2, just put 3.5% down. Okay. Remember, you can add up to 4 different scenarios. Now, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to access this drop down, and again, same concept, it'll bring over the FHA and plug in the details, but the FHA is a little bit different to plug in details or create, so I'm going to show you how you would put it together from scratch. Again, once the product name is in place, I'll show you what this copy from option does for you and how it's a kind of a shortcut. But before this, upfront MIP, you select a drop down. We obviously know that this is an FHA. By doing so, what it's going to do from there is as we advance, it's going to populate an upfront MIP field in this location, which is very important. So by selecting the drop down, here's the FHA. Now you do not see anything happen or occur here, but I'm going to advance here so that you can see something. Now you see that this field is populated. Okay, so that's important that we make sure that we do not miss this field, because you will be emailing support team asking why your numbers are incorrect. So one of the things that I would do here is, if you do not have a product created, is I would copy over from the first product. And the reason why I would do that, even though it's conventional, is so that I don't have to re-enter in the purchase price or the property taxes in the end. But for now, let's go ahead and enter in 385. Whoops, too many zeros. Select enter. Click the percent option, enter in 3.5. Interest rate we will use 3.25%. And let's use 3.5, actually 3.5. And the term will be 360. So again, we selected the upfront premium field, access the FHA option. At that point, you'll see that the down payment, the interest rate, and the term. So we're done with this step. Once we advance, again, it's the closing cost section. And the upfront MIP option is important, so you want to click on the percent option, enter in the factor of 1.375, and you want to hit enter. Now you do that, you'll see a population dollar amounts on the left-hand side. You'll also see at the bottom it presents an additional field, which is important to determine whether or not this upfront premium is to be added to the loan amount. So each option that provides an upfront premium is different. Some may be paid up front, some may be included within the loan, so you can determine that. We know an FHA is going to be added to the loan at this point, just for this specific product. And now from here, again, I would access the closing cost details, select the drop down, FHA purchase, apply to loan, and there it is. If you don't have any fees, don't worry about populating the fees for right now. You can just populate the upfront premium, and then you can advance with me to the next step, okay? So now, the hazard insurance, same concept. I'm going to click this option, select 0.35, enter in the factor, click here, enter in there. So as you can see, when you create a second, and if it's a third and a fourth, if you continue to build it from scratch, it could take you, again, some time. I'll show you a shortcut in a minute here. Now, the FHA, when it comes to FHA, is very important that you enter it in a specific way. If I enter in 125, let's assume that this is the mortgage insurance for the FHA. Now, we know that mortgage insurance carries throughout the entire lifetime of the loan based on government guidelines. So one of the things that we have to do is make sure that we let Edge know what takes place. So here, you want to make sure that you enter in the factor instead. So click over. And we're going to assume that's about 95% or above. We use a factor of about 0.85. And as you can see, it populates a dollar amount again, but there's an additional field that populates here called Calc MI on balance. We want to make sure you check that off. At this point, you'll see that this is going to provide you the MI cutoff month. You will then have to enter in the length of time that mortgage insurance is to carry. So if it's a 15-year option, and the mortgage insurance is 180, you would type that in. If it's an 11-year option, then you would type in the 11 there. So here's 360 months. We've calculated, letting Mortgage Coach Edge know that it needs to carry throughout the entire lifetime, and now we're set. On the conventional, you will not have to approach that because it automatically knows that if it's not categorized in this format with the calc and the 360, it'll take this 78 LTV or loan to value, that once it gets below the 80%, it'll automatically recognize that mortgage insurance is to drop off with that conventional. So I'm going to add one more product just to kind of show you a shortcut and what I meant by that. So again, you can save as your second template. If you follow along, you now should have two templates already intact for you, and you can tweak them out later on to add and edit how you please or how you need to. So I'm going to cancel. I'm going to click add another product for the simple reason, again, I'm going to say this is a conventional 10%. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm using this is you can use this copy from anytime you're creating a second, a third, or a fourth product. The reason why I would do this is for this reason. This conventional option that I originally created as the first product, I can select OK, and again, that was selected by copy from. And if you created this first product in second, you can also do this as well. click on the copy from option. This applies and it's the closest to this conventional 10% down that I'm creating. I'm going to select OK. And so what you see here is it's brought over that exact same product. So it's almost like you copy it and paste. So all I have to do, I no longer have to enter in the purchase price unless I'm changing the purchase price and increasing it. I do have to adjust the down payment to 10% instead. And then the rate, if that's going to be adjusted, I can do that as well, and so forth. Or if I need to change this to an ARM, I can also make that adjustment as well. The important part is that's brought over the purchase price, the interest rate, the term, and also as I advance, it's also brought over the exact same closing costs, so that saves me some time. I can then move on again. Now you'll see that it's also populated the hazard and property tax there as well. Now, conventional 10% down and 5, I know that has mortgage insurance, so that's something that I did not enter in. I'm going to use for this conventional 10% down 0.74. And I'm going to go back, so just bear with me here to the conventional and make that adjustment as well. And click here and enter in 0.90. Okay, so if you're following along and you want to do this with me, you can do that. You can, if you've created more than one product, then you can hover your mouse. Do not click. Go over to the conventional 5% down, because again we forgot to enter in the mortgage insurance. You'll see it takes us to the exact same layout. And then click forward. You're going to pass the closing cost. Click forward one more time. And this is where you would enter in again the mortgage insurance. You want to go ahead and click here, enter in 0.90. Once you've done that, again, as long as you have created more than one, then you should be able to hover your mouse and again go over to this conventional option. Click forward there. Again, click to the last step and then enter in the 0.74 there. Okay. So now there's 3 products. Showed you the shortcuts there. Let's go to the analysis. Get ready to close here. Again, we're going to keep this simple. We're not going to go into any specifics as regards to what this investment strategy matrix does. Feel free to view that on your own time. We're going to keep it simple again. We're going to keep the short-term analysis at 60 months, which is 5 years, showing the cost and savings over that time frame. And then also the long-term will control the bottom right-hand side there. So here in itself, you can leave everything as is, and we're going to keep it simple and advance to the next step. If you have any questions on how to apply, for example, principal reduction payments, or showing your borrowers their mortgage insurance and when that traditionally will drop off, then you can determine what that is there. And actually, let me make some changes, so just give me a moment because it doesn't make any sense here. Give me a moment here. Here it is. And just give me a moment because it was something that didn't make sense, and let me show you what that was here. Okay, that's in place. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So anyway, so you'll see that it'll calculate the mortgage insurance. So for example, this MI cutoff month, the mortgage insurance will drop off originally if they keep the exact same payment at 103 months. This mortgage or FHA option, as you can see, because we populated the details, it's important. It's also showing you 361 months is officially when that mortgage insurance will drop off, or will not drop off, will carry through. So you'll see that this is an option. For any details on this matrix, I'll show you in this help section how you can gain help on that. Okay. So we're going to advance contact information. This is the address of the residence, or it could be TBD if the resident or the buyer does not know or have a purchase or property just yet. Proceed 927. Okay, I'm going to advance there, and here is one of the sections that if you do not want a specific product to appear on the report, you just simply deselect it. At that point, that product will no longer appear. Okay, so that's an option. I'm going to leave the conventional 10% down or excluded for now, and this payment notice your compliance department will love you for it. Tax and insurance are included, so you want to make sure that we do identify that. And any additional notes that you'd like to add to this, you can definitely do so. This will appear on the report by these 2 asterisk marks that will be identified there. From here, we're pretty much done. Don't have to do much there. Just go ahead and click forward. You're going to see these exact same 4 graph options that we saw in the analysis section, because we can make final adjustments if we changed our mind and need to make some changes there. We can definitely do that. So now, as you can see, again, we're at the end. So from client to affordability, again, these were more probing questions. Products, You can create up to 4 different scenarios. And then the analysis, remember we didn't make too many adjustments at this point for this training. Contact information was the most difficult part, right? So now we entered in the address, moved on from there, and now we're here at the presentation section. Remember, you can print, save as a PDF, but we recommend to preview it first if you are going to use that format. And then on the bottom right, you will see there's a share and print option that you can generate from there. Check off this box and make sure that you are notified when your report has been viewed, and for the simple reason because you will receive an email that your borrowers have viewed a report, or your clients, and it'll tell you how long they viewed the report for. So if this is what it would look like, don't know why this is there, but let me close this out. This is what the email would look like to give you an idea. And so what you see here is it says, for example, if this was a rent versus zone you created, your rent versus zone presentation for Mr. Purchase has just been viewed. Tell you how long the presentation was viewed, and the contact information that you would have placed in that section in Edge is what will appear here on the email as well. So keep that in mind. It's very important. That would allow you to take action and contact your borrower at that point. Quote date. This is important. Anytime you send out a report, if your borrower comes back at you a month later and says, I want you to quote, I want to hold you to this rate. Well, you can't do that. That was quoted back on the 20th, and based on where today's rates are, we can't do it any longer. Okay, so that definitely will protect you there. You want to select the generate link. This is what we demonstrated in the slide deck earlier, is that when we take this link, we're going to copy. Okay, and as we copy it, we're going to paste and plug it into an email. So again, when you plug it into an email, I would recommend that you create templates that you have, or maybe on a Word format, copy and paste it. It will make it easier, save you some time. Let's assume this was my deck, and remember, this is what I renamed, but I'm going to show you what it looks like with just the link itself. Copy and paste, and as you can see, that's what it would look like. So you can rename this to just make it look a little bit more snazzy if you'd like, but the moment they select this, you're going to see here, I'm going to click on this link, and it's going to pull up the presentation right there and then. That quickly it pulls up the report, so the first thing your borrower would do is select I understand. Then at this point, their presentation they can access. They can access these more information tabs if they need to, but they cannot make any changes. They cannot highlight on the report whatsoever. This is just a report that they have tangible, that they have your contact information located at the top right. They can also share this with their friends or relatives if they use these social media sites and so forth. Okay, so it's a very powerful tool and can go a long way. Now I'm going to leave the borrower report here for a moment. I'm going to slide it off because I'm going to show you there's a way where you can create and interact with your borrowers live. Before I do that, let me get back to the report here. Close this out here. Now, before you email the link, one of the things we recommend is to add a video to your presentation. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure that you select Add Audio Video, and you're going to see that at the bottom left-hand side, it's going to select Record Message. The moment you do this, it'll pull up the image of the webcam that you have in place. Now, there is a way where you can select this option here to check off and record in audio only. If you do that, the image will disappear, and then the moment that your borrower receives the link, the only thing that it will show in this image would be, please turn up your speakers for this audio message. Okay, you don't want that, because what happens is what we found is that borrowers, when they tend to do that, if they cannot find what's going on or why they can't hear you, they're going to get frustrated and close out of that link. So the report or the video really goes a long way. I can do something like this. I can select Record and say, hello, Holly Hayes. My name is Joey Negron, and I've created this presentation for you. You'll notice that there are a couple of options that we will be discussing during our conversation at 5 o'clock today, but I wanted to create this report to give you an idea of what we're going to be looking at and reviewing. So you'll notice that I've highlighted a couple key points that are located at the top left, including the conventional 5% down with the 3.5% down option, which allows you to apply the minimum down possible. So when we communicate, we'll touch base. This report will all make sense, but feel free to navigate through each of the sections that you'd like. It'll provide you details, and it'll make more sense once we touch base at that point. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Now, how long do you think that was? Now, if you want to see how long that video was, you can go ahead, and I'm going to close this out here. I can go back into the Edge tab. Anytime you generate a link or you're going to add a video, your Edge system will still stay intact, but it'll add an additional web browser for you. Okay. So I'm going to close this, and then anytime I'd like to see how long the video was, I can click preview here. And you'll see that it pulls up, and now it tells me that it's roughly 39 seconds. Not 39 seconds it could have been created an impact with my borrower speaking with them for the first time. So you'll see that video really can go a long way. It can really impact you. It can save you from having to re-explain yourself over and over again. So you want to really consider using it, and to keep in mind that however they see you in person is the exact same way that they're going to see you in video. It's not going to change. Okay. If you're concerned about that, make sure you get a very good video webcam that has pretty good resolution if that's what you'd like to do at that point. Okay. So now you understand how to send the email. You understand how to create the report. Now I'm going to end with this and showing you how you would break down this report. So I'm going to assume at this point that based on our training is that this link I'm going to place into the chat box for everyone, and you can follow along. And while everyone accesses the link, please place it on one side of the screen, and on the opposite end, please make sure that you're viewing my screen at that point. Now, while you're accessing that link, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of here for a moment. Again, only if you have dual monitors, I want you to do this. If not, you will get lost. Before you want to do is you want to select Help. And the Help section, remember we mentioned that this is where you can access any videos, and you can select Edge Live in this search field, and you can find out the video on how to create the effect that I'm about to demonstrate here for you. So quickly, to end the call, I'm going to, as the originator, I'm going to assume that my borrower is currently on the line. I'm now speaking with Holly. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going to make sure she has the presentation up, and I'm going to select this Edge Live button. What this is going to do is allow me at this point to see the video. I'm going to close it out, and I'm going to also pull up the borrower's presentation as well. So this way both of you or all of you can see the live version. When you get comfortable with using Mortgage Coach, you will be able to understand how to use this format. Now here it'll demonstrate to my borrower, for example, is the right-hand side of the presentation. My presentation as the originator will be the left. So it'll also identify how many individuals are currently viewing the report. So at this point, it'll let me know if my borrower is currently viewing it. What I can say, Mr. Borrower, let's go ahead and discuss this conventional 5% down. You'll also see that here's your 3 3/4% with a monthly payment of roughly $2,048 or $2,481. Here's the cash to close and so forth and so on. So as you can see, I can continue to go through each one of these sections. My borrower's presentation will also take place. It'll highlight, and I can walk them through step-by-step, direct the conversation, including these more information tabs to show them closing costs, payment breakdowns, you name it, anything on the report. And this goes a long way because now they're able to keep up and understand with what you're trying to present to them. So if it's closing costs, same concept, fee details, they can access, and you'll be able to break down the details in itemized and in alphabetical order. And finally, you can also make adjustments if need be. So you notice, keep your attention to the report on the right-hand side if you're not following along. I can go back into my system. My borrower has a question. They may mention that one of their relatives is going to give them an additional 5% or maybe additional money down. I can now add a product if need be, make adjustments on rates. But with that quick, simple change, you're going to see that it's going to add a third product, and now it's done. And that quickly, I can prevent from having to correspond back and forth with the emails. Other than that, folks, that is how you create mortgage, how you can use Mortgage Coach a couple of ways. We did not show you how to use the mobile app, but if you have any questions, and also if you follow along, please make sure you email support@mortgagecoach.com, and we look forward to speaking to you during our next sessions. Take care, and we'll talk to you later.